Arrived in Baltimore. For the next 19 seasons, Jim Palmer wrote the record book for Oriole pitching. 268 career wins, 8 20-win seasons, 3 Cy Young Awards, and 3 World Championships. Last August, Jim Palmer climaxed his storybook career by being voted into Cooperstown by the second highest margin of any pitcher ever. A great ending to a marvelous chapter in Palmer's life. But today, Chapter 2 begins in Bradenton, Florida. For the next few hours, the sporting world will look on with an air of curiosity as Jim Palmer attempts to write the prologue of the most fascinating chapter in his pitching career, as he attempts to become the first member of the Hall of Fame to play again in the majors, and you'll see it next on Home Team Sports. Presents Major League Baseball this afternoon from McKechnie Field in Bradenton, Florida. It's the Orioles against the Boston Red Sox. It's a beautiful afternoon here at Bradenton. Temperatures in the 70s, a slight breeze blowing out toward right field. It's the Orioles and the Red Sox as Home Team Sports begins its 8th year of Oriole baseball. Training telecast on Home Team Sports as the Orioles meet the Boston Red Sox. And welcome back for another year of baseball on Home Team Sports. And of course with me is Brother Lowe, John Lowenstein, looking in good health after a winter of rest, in great shape and ready to go. But the story today is Jim Palmer trying to make a comeback at the age of 45. He last pitched in the big leagues in 1984. In your opinion, can he do it?
If anybody can do it, Jimmy can. And I think even though he's been out of the game 6-7 years, because he's kept himself in great physical condition, that's what makes me think that he can actually do it. He's told me he's fully committed. This is no charade. He's not out here to publicize his name or make a gimmick out of it. He can actually throw. Obviously, he's not going to be throwing with the same velocity he did when he was in his heyday or even in the last couple of years of his existence with the Orioles, but he can still pitch. He's got a mind for the game of baseball, and it's going to be interesting to see how he develops this spring training.
Why would you think he's going to be any better at the age of 45 than at the age of 38 when the Orioles released him?
He's not going to be any better. But can he help this ball club? Is he going to be able to make a contribution? Is there going to be room for him on the team? Those are the questions that not only he, but manager Frank Robinson are going to have to ask. And those are difficult questions to answer.
All right, John, maybe we'll find out some of the answers today. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for today's game. Beginning with the Orioles, Mike Devereaux will lead off and play center field. Brady Anderson in left field batting second. Cal Ripken is at shortstop hitting third. Glenn Davis at first base. He's in the cleanup spot. Sam Horn, who's belted a couple of tape measure home runs so far, is the DH. Craig Worthington at third base. Joe Orsulak batting seventh and playing right field. Chris Hoyles is behind the plate. And Bill Ripken will bat ninth and play second base. And pitching for the Orioles today, the first pitcher is Jim Palmer.
Jimmy is not the impact pitcher that he once was. However, he can be an added plus to this ball club, indeed, as a number 5 and maybe even as a spot starter somewhere along the road. And if he can help this ball club in any way, Frank's going to have him on the team.
The batting order today for the Boston Red Sox, Wade Boggs will lead off and play third base. Jody Reed is second base. Mike Greenwell is in left field batting third. Jack Clark, coming over from the San Diego Padres, is the designated hitter. Ellis Burks in center field. Carlos Quintana at first base. Phil Plantier will play right field and bat seventh. Tony Pena will do the catching today for the Red Sox. And Tim Naring is the shortstop batting ninth. And pitching for Boston, veteran left-hander Matt Young.
What a blessing in disguise for Matt to come over to this ball club from Seattle. Absolutely not done much during his career, but got a big contract. He's a left-handed pitcher in Fenway. He's going to have his work cut out for him. Whether or not he's going to be able to get people out is another question that's going to have to be answered.
And we'll to go from Bradenton, Florida. Beautiful afternoon. Temperatures in the 70s. A slight breeze blowing out toward right field as Wade Boggs, the left-hand hitting third baseman of the Red Sox, steps in to face Jim Palmer. The plate umpire today is Larry Young. Tim Welke and Dan Morrison are working the bases. And Jim Palmer's into his windup, and his first pitch in 7 years, a fastball low. Boggs, who has won 5 batting championships, had an off year last season, slumping to a career low 302. Trying to bounce back this season. The 1-0 pitch by Palmer is a fastball away, and it's 2-0 to Boggs, who will rarely swing at a bad pitch.
I guess, well, when you hit 50 points below your career average, it's a bad year for most people.
Fastball with the letters for a called strike. The trademark of Jim Palmer at his heyday was that high fastball. The 2-1 delivery is high, and it's 3-1 now to Boggs. Will be followed by Jody Reed and then Mike Greenwell. The Orioles have Craig Worthington at third, Cal Ripken at short, Bill Ripken at second, with Glenn Davis at first base. Palmer delivers, and Boggs fouls it off on the third base side. In the outfield for the Orioles today, Brady Anderson is in left field, Mike Devereaux in center, and Joe Orsulak in right. The outfield straight away on Boggs, who sprays the ball all over the park. The 3-2 pitch swung on and drilled into the right center field alley, and it's in for a base hit. So Boggs greets Jim Palmer with a single to right.
One thing Jimmy probably can't do is try to do anything differently in this excursion here out to the mound as he did when he was pitching on a regular basis for the ball club. He's still going to have to probably try to ride the ball by people upstairs because that's what he's always been able to do. But whether or not he's going to be a success at it remains to be seen.
And again, we apologize. We are having technical difficulties, and you're not yet seeing the video portion of our programming, so we'll give you a radio play-by-play, something I haven't done for a few years. Jody Reed, the right-hand hitting shortstop, or second baseman, steps in and takes an off-speed pitch low from Jim Palmer. So Boggs is aboard at first with Reed at the plate. Reed rapidly becoming one of the better second basemen in the American League. He hit .289 last year with 5 homers, 51 RBIs. Palmer is up and in with a fastball, and the count is 2-0, and a balk has been called on Jim Palmer. So that'll advance Boggs to second. You would expect Palmer to be a little nervous. Having not pitched in 7 years, other than intra-squad games. He didn't stop when he was supposed to come to the set position. That was the reason for the balk. Palmer delivers a line drive up the ladder. Cal Ripken to steer it for the out. So both Boggs and Reed have hit the ball hard, and there is one out.
That's unimportant as to what happens with the balls that are hit. Obviously, like to keep as many people off the bases as he can, but the most important thing is throwing strikes. If he can do that, that'll be a major accomplishment, especially in his first outing here in a competition.
In fact, his wife Jody handed us a note before the game and said, "Will you please give this to Jim?" And it was a note from his former teammate and good friend Dave Leonard, who lives in the Boston area, giving him some advice. He said, "Jim, we all love you. Go out and do your best, but keep in mind, no, you don't have to concentrate on throwing hard. Just get them to make outs."
Well said, just like a pitching coach.
So that note was passed along to Palmer. One out. Boggs at second base, and the left-hand hitting Mike Greenwell stands in. Palmer delivers another line drive. This one into right field for a base hit. Boggs will be held at third base as Joe Orsulak comes up with it. And the throw gets away from the cutoff man. It's headed for the backstop, and Boggs comes in from third to score to give the Red Sox the lead. There'll be a single for Greenwell. No run batted in. As the throw from Joe Orsulak.
Looked like he was trying to throw behind the runner and ended up throwing it behind the first base coach as well, almost threw it in the seats.
And we are the official scores today. We will give Orsulak a throwing error. So it's an error on the right fielder on the throw. How's that?
Number 25.
We have a lot to deal with today. Not only our first broadcast, but we're having technical problems. I've got a bad cold, and now we have to be the official score. Other than that, things are terrific. It's 1-0 Boston. Greenwell is at second base with the DH Jack Clark up, and he takes a breaking ball low, and Jim Palmer is obviously struggling in this first inning.
Well, only that one-line drive was hit at someone, but if he gets Jack Clark out, that'll be a major accomplishment right here. Clark doesn't hit right-handers too well.
Fastball up and in to Clark, and it's 2 balls and no strikes. I think Palmer's thrown only 1 breaking pitch so far, but having trouble getting his fastball over. Base facing Jack Clark, who signed a 3-year, $8.7 million contract with the Red Sox.
Is that all?
I know you're thinking about coming out of retirement.
Well, I'm sure one of the motivating reasons for Jimmy out there has to be money, too. Everybody likes that extra.
2-0 pitch is hammered to left field. Brady Anderson in a couple of steps to make the catch. But that ball was scorched, the sinking liner to left. And that was not an easy play for Brady, who had the glasses down and was battling the sun and the sinking action.
This is one of the tougher fields because of the high sky. There's no clouds up there whatsoever, but he's probably fortunate that ball was hit on a line right at him.
So all 4 Red Sox hitters have tattooed the ball so far.
Well, he's not fooling anybody, but he's just trying to get the ball over right now.
Ellis Burks, the center fielder, steps in with 2 outs and Greenwell at second. The Red Sox lead 1-0. Burks, a right-handed hitter. Palmer delivers, and it's high and inside. Burks off to a fast start with 6 hits in 9 at-bats, including 2 home runs.
And if you're an opposing hitter, you're taking this confrontation seriously.
Palmer comes set at the belt, checks the runner, and delivers a swing and a ground ball foul off third base. 1 ball, 1 strike to Ellis Burks. Wade Boggs led off the inning with a single to right. He moved to second on a balk. And then later scored on a single to right by Greenwell and a throwing error by right fielder Joe Orsolak. It's 1-0 Boston. Palmer set, the pitch on the way, a breaking ball that doesn't break much, and it's 2-1. Looks like he's having trouble getting his curveball over.
That pitch right there never really was a benefit to him for the most part, even when he was pitching, because he used it so infrequently. But it's that high gas that got him by.
The 2-1 pitch hit high and deep down the left field line. It's hooking deep, and it is gone, but foul. Over the left field fence, but foul by about 15 feet. But Jim Palmer is not fooling anyone in this first inning. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Ellis Burks. Burks, who stayed healthy last year and hit .296 with 21 homers, 89 runs batted in, and won his first Gold Glove. Palmer with a stretch and the pitch, a changeup, and it's outside ball 3, so the count is full to Burks.
It's the only time Jimmy spent in the outfield shagging fly balls before all those games when he was playing regularly. Maybe he could have been working on one of those footballs, the split-fingered fastballs.
Remember, Jim Bowden made a comeback with a knuckleball.
That's right. Kept Dennis Martinez's career alive, too.
3-2 pitch is bounced to the third baseman Craig Worthington, who short hops it, throws on the run in time to get Burks. So, despite giving up a couple of well-hit balls in the first inning, Jim Palmer allows only 1 run on 2 hits, 1 Oriole error, and 1 runner left. At the end of a half innings from Bradenton, it's the Red Sox 1 and the Orioles coming up. Welcome back to McKechnie Field in Bradenton, Florida. The Red Sox leading the Orioles 1-0. Defensively, Boston will have Tony Pena behind the plate. First baseman is Carlos Quintana. Jody Reed is at second base. Tim Naring at shortstop. And Wade Boggs at third base. In the outfield, Mike Greenwell is at left. Ellis Burks is the center fielder. And Phil Plantier is playing right. And the first Red Sox pitcher is veteran left-hander Matt Young, who spent last year with the Seattle Mariners. Facing the right-hand hitting Mike Devereaux, leading off for the Orioles, and Young's first delivery is a fastball inside, ball 1.
Devereaux's come back as the everyday center fielder again this year for the ball club, and he could be a fixture out at that position for several years to come if indeed he gets his offensive game together.
Young misses inside with a fastball, and the count is 2-0 to Mike Devereaux. Devereaux, who hit .240 with 12 homers, 49 runs batted in for the Orioles last season. Young rocks and fires another fastball. This one is in for a strike.
And he's got some velocity out on the mound, too. It wasn't unusual for him to throw the ball in the low 90s toward the end of the season last year, and that's what got the attention of the Red Sox and several other ball clubs.
Young kicks and fires, and Devereaux sends a drive to deep left center field. Ellis Burks racing back, and it's by him, rolling to the warning track. Devereaux, who can really run, is on his way to second. Takes a wide turn and will hold with a long double to the left center field alley.
See, this ball must be tough to pick up out there in the outfield today, even from the infielder's perspective, looking out to the outfield, because that's a ball normally that Burks would catch. because he's got the speed to catch up to balls like that. That ball wasn't hit that well. But again, if you can get your bat around with the kind of bat speed to match the ball speed thrown on the mound, you can hit the ball a long way, and that's exactly what happened. He just got it between the outfielders.
Devereaux, who steps in the bucket anyway when he swings, was swung around toward third base that time as he swung at the pitch. Just happened to be in his wheelhouse, and he hit it into left center for a double. And now Brady Anderson stands in. Left-hand hitter. Young delivers a fastball for a strike. Matt Young will have to keep his eye on Mike Devereaux at 13 stolen bases. Young does not do a good job of holding runners, and you can steal on him. 0-1 to Brady Anderson as Devereaux inches to his lead at second. Young delivers, slider low, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, one thing that Devereaux and Anderson offer the ball club in that number 1 and 2 spots is they offer speed up there, and they can make a lot of things happen.
Outfield shading Brady Anderson to pull slightly. Plantier toward the line in right. Burks a couple of steps to the right field line in center. In a big alley in left center field. A bunt attempt by Brady, and a throw to second by the catcher is not in time as Devereaux is back in standing up.
You got to pay a lot of attention when you're out there at second because Pena likes to throw the ball around. He's about as active as they come behind the plate.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Brady Anderson, who played in 89 games for the Orioles last year and hit .231.
Well, Anderson's no stranger to this Boston Red Sox club. They know fully well that he's capable of dragging the ball up along the first baseline, and in Reed and Quintana were very well aware of that.
But now with 2 strikes on Brady Anderson, they both play back. Young set at the belt, the check on the runner and the pitch. A slider low, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Brady Anderson, of course, was a member of the Boston Red Sox and was traded to the Orioles for Mike Boddicker a couple of years ago. Boddicker had some fine years in Boston. Brady Anderson has had his moments with the Orioles, but has not been a consistent player. And at the age of 27, it's about time for him to emerge. The 2-2 pitch in the dirt, and a good pickup by Tony Pena. So the count is full to Brady Anderson. With nobody out, Devereaux at second, and the Red Sox ahead 1-0.
Well, some of the outfield depth left when Steve Finley went to Houston in that deal for Davis. And so that opened up a spot, more or less, for Brady Anderson out there to get many more at-bats.
Here's the 3-2 pitch by Matt Young. Fastball was chopped to the third baseman Boggs, who checks the runner at second and throws Brady out at first. 1 out. Boggs, who probably doesn't get enough credit for his fielding at third base. He has never won a Gold Glove, but he's among the best fielding third basemen in the American League.
He's improved so much defensively since the first time I saw him that it's incredible that he doesn't get more coverage out there as one of the most improved at that position in many, many years.
And again, we apologize. We are having technical difficulties. You're not seeing the action from Bradenton, but John and I are doing our best to bring it to you verbally. And with 1 out, Cal Ripken is the hitter with Devereaux at second. Young delivers a fastball hit high in the air to shallow right field. Phil Plantier racing in. The second baseman Reed goes out to make an over-the-shoulder catch. Oh, what a play by Jody Reed, and almost colliding with the big right fielder, Phil Plantier.
He has developed very quickly into one of the best defensive second basemen at that position in just over a year's time. And this is a tough play, racing out to the outfield and catching this thing over the shoulder like this. Very, very difficult play.
So a fine play by Jody Reed takes a base hit away from Cal Ripken. And with 2 outs, that'll bring up Glenn Davis, former Houston Astro, who hit .251 with 22 home runs, 64 runs batted in last year in the National League. He played in only 93 games due to injuries. He's hitting in the cleanup spot. And Matt Young's first pitch to him is hit on the ground into right field for a base hit. Devereaux rounding third as Plantier bobbles the ball. Devereaux will score. Davis heading for second, and he slides in safely.
What he does is up the power production on this ball club. defensive measure that's going to be to Frank Robinson's delight, seeing him in the lineup every single day, just casually stroke that ball in the right field.
And we've got a scorer's decision to make. Obviously, Plantier is charged with an error, but do we give Davis credit for a run batted in? I would say yes.
Base hit error, RBI.
Yes. A hit, an error on the right fielder, and a run batted in. RBI, yes. The way we see it. Explaining this to the press box next door. This is like trying to keep a lot of balls up in the air at one time. So a single for Davis and a run batted in.
A good job.
And he goes to second on the throw. And Big Sam Horn is the hitter now with the score tied and a runner at second. He leans away from a high inside fastball. I think we've been designated as the official scorers today because of the abuse that we've heaped on the official scorers at Memorial Stadium.
As if we think we could do it better.
So here we are. Young delivers a big swing by a Horn and a breaking ball, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike. Sam looked like he's in great shape. He's lost about 20 pounds. He's been on an aerobics program. He's been working out in the Nautilus room, and I think mainly he's changed his dietary habits, laid off the junk food, and is eating wisely, and he really looks great. The 1-1 pitch to Horn is a fastball away. 2 balls, 1 strike to Big Sam, who has 5 hits and 8 at-bats so far this spring, and 2 tape measure home runs.
Well, he lost some weight. He added some strength. When he got down to spring training, they raced him against a tree. It was close, but he won it. It was a pine tree. You know, he can still move around. He's much more agile. Whether or not he's going to see any time at first base, I doubt it.
Young's next delivery is outside, then makes it 3-1. And one thing you'll learn, John, when you're working with a radio play-by-play man is you've got to stop talking when the ball's being delivered to the plate. Little nuances to this. Right. Hopefully we won't have to do this too long. Hope to have our picture restored. The 3-1 pitch by Young, a big swing by a Horn, but he couldn't get it. He almost buckled to one knee, swung so hard. 3-2 to Horn. Wind is blowing out toward right field, so if he can get the ball up in the wind, he can get it out of here. But Young is very tough on left-handers. Left-handed hitters hit just 149 against Matt Young last year.
Yeah, that's not good if you're up there batting left-handed.
Young stretches and delivers, and the fastball is low, ball 4. So Sam Horn draws a walk to put runners at first and second with 2 outs.
And Matt Young knew full well that he could hit the ball through the wind even if it was blowing in from right field.
Orioles won and the Red Sox won. Bottom of the first inning from Bradenton, and Craig Worthington steps in with runners at first and second. The Red Sox playing him straight away. Greenwell backs up a couple of steps in left. And Matt Young delivers. Swing and a miss. And it's strike 1 to Worthington. Craig battling Leo Gomez for the third base position. Gomez, who put up some big numbers at Rochester last year.
It wasn't unusual for Craig to struggle in his sophomore year, but then Leo stepped right in and showed some signs that maybe he might be ready for that position.
Fastball is low to Worthington. And it's 1 ball, 1 strike to Craig. The Sporting News Rookie of the Year 2 years ago when he hit 15 homers and drove in 70 runs. Last year he slumped to a .226 batting average, 8 homers and 44 RBIs. Young ready and delivers and bounces one to the plate. A good pickup by Tony Pena.
See, that's the thing about early spring training games. All the pitchers are just learning to try to get the ball to the catcher without being hammered and to make sure they don't walk too many people. So consequently, they bounce a lot of balls. They throw a lot of balls out of the strike zone, just trying to be careful.
Glenn Davis at second, Sam Horn at first, 2 outs. And the 2-1 pitch on the way. Worthington hits a bouncer to third. Boggs backs up, handles a tough hop, and throws to second for the 4th to end the inning. But the Orioles tie it up on a double by Mike Devereaux and a single by Glenn Davis. And at the end of 1 from Bradenton, it's the Orioles 1 and the Red Sox 1. Bill Proctor with John Lowenstein back at McKechnie Field in Bradenton, Florida. The Orioles and the Red Sox tied 1-1 as we go to the second inning, and Jim Palmer will face the Bo Sox first baseman, Carlos Quintana. Palmer's first delivery is in there for a strike. It'll be Quintana, right fielder Phil Plantier, and catcher Tony Pena in the second inning. Palmer was a little shaky in the first inning, gave up a couple of hits, and 4 balls were hit hard. He delivers a breaking ball, is lined into right field for a base hit. Orsolak hustling over toward the line to cut it off. Because that was not a good curveball as Palmer hung that pitch on the outside part of the plate, and Quintana just took it to right.
No, that's going to happen. I don't think we want to analyze this too closely on Jimmy's part because it's his first trip out there in a big game. But these things are going to happen, and that's one thing he's going to have to start having work for him because he doesn't really have that upper velocity. He needs to throw the ball by people right now, so he's got to throw those for strikes.
Well, Palmer so far has allowed 1 run on 3 hits. And now right fielder Phil Plantier stands in. Palmer kicks and fires, and the pitch is low, ball 1. Plantier, who had a big year last year in the International League at Pawtucket. He hit 33 home runs and drove in 79 runs and was up with the Red Sox late in the season. Quintana at first, not a threat to run. Palmer delivers a fastball away. And it's 2-0 to Phil Plantier.
You find room for people like Plantier on your ball club, especially people who can hit like that. I think the Yankees found room for Kevin Maas. I'm sure the Red Sox will do the same with Phil Plantier.
Palmer's 2-0 pitch is swung on and missed by Plantier. A big swing by the young first baseman outfielder. The Red Sox also have a youngster by the name of Mo Vaughn they're very high on. He also played at Pawtucket last season. Quintana to his lead at first. Palmer delivers a line drive by the diving Cal Ripken into left field for a base hit. And Quintana moves to second base. So Plantier goes to the opposite field, the 4th Boston hit.
And all those line drives, with the exception of one, have not been hit directly at people. And even with the mobility of your fielders, if they're not caught, then you can get yourself in a jam real quickly.
Red Sox have runners at first and second with nobody out, and the number 8 hitter, catcher Tony Pena, stands in. Pena, who has 1 hit in 5 at-bats this spring. Great addition to the Red Sox a year ago, not so much for the numbers he put up, but for the leadership he provided. He leans away from a fastball that's high and inside. 1-0 to Pena with 263 with the Red Sox last season. More importantly, he threw out 32% of opposing base stealers and did a great job of handling this pitching staff. Palmer kicks and fires. The changeup is high, and it's 2-0 to Pena. It looks like Jim's having trouble getting the balls down in the strike zone.
Yeah, and normally he'd throw upstairs anyway. That's the way he used to pitch. But now you're right. He maybe have to throw the thing down to get people out.
Palmer ready and delivers, and it's a called strike. 2-1 to Tony Pena. Carlos Quintana at second base. Phil Plantier is at first. Nobody out in a 1-1 game. Pena with a slightly open stance, deep in the batter's box. Palmer delivers, and Pena sends a high fly ball down the left field line. Brady Anderson battling the sun, makes the catch, crossing the foul line. Fine play by Brady as he really had to battle the sun on that fly ball.
Yeah, you could see the sun playing off his glasses, and it's a good thing he had his glove up there near them, too, because, you know, he shaded his eyes at the same time. But then again, that's a ball that was trying to find safe haven somehow in the outfield grass.
Oh, with 1 out and 2 men aboard, the number 9 hitter, Tim Nehring, the young shortstop, steps in. Nehring also played at Pawtucket last season, where he hit 269 with 15 homers and 47 runs batted in and only 290 at-bats. Also came up late in the year with the Red Sox and played pretty well until he got hurt. So 1 down, Quintana's at second, Plantier at first. Palmer stretches and fires. Fastball bounced to third. Worthington makes a diving stop, fires to second for 1, on to first, not in time. But a fine play by Craig Worthington to get the force play on Plantier. Quintana moves to third, and Nehring is safe on a fielder's choice.
It was a ball he couldn't charge. He had to play back on it, and he's probably fortunate the thing ended up in his glove. And had he not a semi-speedy runner running to first base, they might have been able to convert that as Ripken gets the ball off with a runner right on top of it.
But another well-hit ball.
Yes.
The Red Sox have hit the ball hard against Jim Palmer. With 2 outs, runners at first and third. Wade Boggs comes up for the second time and takes a fastball high and away. Boggs singled to right to start the game, then came around to score to give the Red Sox the lead. The Orioles then tied it up. Palmer delivers an off-speed pitch over for a strike.
I don't know if that was an off-speed pitch or a fastball. I don't think we can determine that just yet. Probably throwing the ball in the mid-80s right now.
Palmer has the sign. He set at the belt, and the pitch, an off-speed breaking ball, whacked into left field for a base hit. Carlos Quintana scores to give the Red Sox a 2-1 lead. And Wade Boggs is 2 for 2.
He just served the ball out there in the short left field like he knew exactly what he wanted to do. And, of course, anyone who hits 250 usually does. He wants to get right back on track again. And he'll hit anything, fastball, breaking balls, anything. He just has a knack for hitting the outfield grass.
Looked like a curveball that didn't have much break on it. Jody Reed is up for the second time with runners at first and second, 2 outs. Palmer delivers a fastball outside, ball 1. So Palmer has allowed 2 runs on 5 hits in an inning and 2/3. Jim is ready, and his pitch on the way is a fastball inside. Throwing primarily fastballs, an occasional changeup, and he's tried to throw a couple of curveballs without too much success. The 2-0 pitch by Palmer is a fastball high, and he goes 3-0 to Jody Reed.
Well, the first 2 pitches he threw to Reed were strikes, and Young was conveniently blind on those 2 pitches. Now he's worked himself into a big hole.
Palmer kicks and fires a fastball over for a strike. No, called ball 4 by Larry Young.
3 out of the 4 pitches were strikes.
It looked like a pretty good pitch. Palmer stalking back of the mound, a little disgusted at the last call. Something never changed.
Well, you're going to get those reactions if they can't call strikes. Spring training for the umpires.
And we understand our picture has been restored. We had some technical difficulties, so welcome visually to Bradenton, Florida, where the Red Sox lead 2-1. Boston with the bases loaded now, and Mike Greenwell up. Palmer is struggling with his control so far. Not walking too many. He's only walked 1, but he's been behind in the count several times. Popped up on the right side. Bill Ripken battling the sun. And he's got it. The Red Sox regain the lead, however. They're ahead now 2-1. Well, you think back to 1984 when Jim Palmer was released by the Orioles. He was 38 years old at the time. Now he is 45 years old. And they asked Jim, why would it be different this time around?
Well, I don't know that it's going to be. Number 1, in '84, I really didn't have any injuries. I mean, I had a stiff neck once. I did need knee surgery, but that was something for going for a ball in the '83 World Series. But my arm felt good. I'd had a good spring. I think I gave up a little over 2 runs, pitching every 4th day in Florida. But if you recollect, the Orioles did not play very well. We started off 4-13. Mike Boddicker is 0-3 that year. Scott McGregor was 0-3. Mike Flanagan 0-2. And I got 3 starts, didn't pitch real well. We didn't play very well. And I guess maybe there's some unanswered questions. And I don't really know whether I'll pitch any better now than then. But I'll tell you what, until you make the effort, you never really find out.
Obviously, if you are successful in your comeback, it'll be an amazing story. But what if you fail?
I have no problem. I mean, I'll be back broadcasting. I'll know that I committed myself back in December. I made every effort I could, worked out every day, and you give it your best shot. I think that I can accept failure a lot more readily than other people. And people have said for years, you know, it looks like you have a fear of failure complex. I'll tell you what, if I had a fear of failure complex, why did I ever pick baseball? I mean, this is where when you make a mistake, or you don't pitch well, if you make an error or loses a ball game, you read about the next day. If you're a school teacher and you don't have a good lesson plan, what happens? Nobody even hears about it. So this is a game where your mistakes are readily identifiable, and if I make a couple today, I'm sure that you and John up there will notice them, as you should.
We will, Jim. Yes, we will. By the way, we'd like to inform our fans that you'll be seeing this game in its entirety tonight at 7:30, so you'll be able to see it despite the technical problems we had on the live telecast this afternoon. Jim Palmer so far in 2 innings allowed 2 runs on 5 hits. He's walked 1, struck out none. John, if he was a 25 or 35-year-old pitcher with his track record of success, would you be concerned at his outing so far today?
Absolutely not. That's why I insist that, the first couple innings of this afternoon's work, nothing to get excited about.
Joe Orsulak, Chris Hoyles, and Bill Ripken to face Matt Young in the bottom of the second with the Red Sox ahead 2-1. Orsulak tees off and gets under it, sends a high fly ball to right. Plantier is back and makes the catch. I think Plantier is actually more comfortable at first base, but they've got Carlos Quintana at that position, so he is in the outfield. He's played that position before.
Better off if you can play several positions on this ball club. Give you a chance to play more often.
Chris Hoyle starting behind the plate this afternoon. Chris had a 3-run homer yesterday to give the Orioles a 6-3 win in 10 innings over the Yankees. Strike one to Hoyles, who put up some big numbers at Rochester last season. In 70 games, he had 348 with 18 homers and 56 runs batted in.
Well, they lost a lot of potential run production when Mickey Tettleton was shipped to Detroit. Now, whether or not Chris Hoyles is going to be able to replace that remains to be seen, but with him and Melvin behind the plate sharing duties, and maybe Hoyles will get a preponderance of the at-bats, but the production might be equal or exceeded.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Chris Hoyles, who was acquired from the Detroit Tigers several years ago. For a couple of seasons, he was just another body in the farm system, really, but came into his own last season. He gives a lot of the credit to Tom McCraw, who made some adjustments in his mental approach to hitting. Got him to look for certain pitches in certain situations in the count. Made some mechanical adjustments. He takes low. And now with an opportunity to share the catching duties with Bob Melvin.
He figures to get his bat on the ball a little more often than Mickey.
3-2, the count to Hoyles. Chris injured his shoulder late last year while playing with the Orioles. There was some concern about that because it was supposed to be one of his weaknesses. He didn't throw the ball that well to begin with, and then the arm injury just compounding it, but he seems to be okay. Foul tip, and Pena unable to hold it.
Well, that's funny, Mel, how different people look at it. I thought Hoyles had a pretty good arm and a good release to second base. Now, I'm sure he'll improve upon that the more he plays on this level. But they like him because of his offensive skills.
They like his power. Bounces it foul.
Matt Young has been no day at the beach out there on the mound either. He's had his problems here in the first plus innings. So you throw too many balls out over the plate, his hitters are going to tee off on you. But like I said, and you were right in your assessment, you can't get too up top about what's going to happen here in the first outing.
Chris Hoyles strikes out. That's the first strikeout for Matt Young.
Good velocity, and that's the velocity we were talking about earlier that he had toward the end of the season.
The second baseman, number 3, Billy Ripken.
It's unusual to have that kind of speed here in his first outing.
See part of the overflow crowd, most of them turning out to pull for Jim Palmer. And how could you not pull for him?
They were here early, too.
Ball 1 to Bill Ripken. Billy with 1 hit in 8 at-bats this spring. The Orioles have gone 3-1 so far in exhibition play. Wow. Check swing and a strike, and you can hear that catcher's mitt pop as Young is throwing hard.
And whether the addition of Matt Young and Danny Darwin from Houston are going to be able to replace what Mike Boddicker accomplished from the Red Sox last year remains to be seen.
A chopper to Boggs at third, and Wade makes the play. So 1-2-3 inning for Matt Young, and at the end of 2 from Bradenton, it's the Red Sox 2 and the Orioles 1. And by Diet Pepsi, you got the right one, baby. Well, Jim Palmer is finished for the day, heading down to the bullpen to do some extra throwing, but he worked 2 innings, allowed 2 runs on 5 hits. He walked 1, and struck out none. And Big Ben McDonald takes over in the 3rd inning. Facing Jack Clark leading off for the Red Sox. Boston ahead 2-1. 1 to Clark. The blind to left, his first time up against Palmer. Your assessment of Jim Palmer's outing today, John?
Probably on a scale of 1 to 10, probably somewhere around 3, because he was hit hard. He knows that, but he was just trying to get the ball over the plate. Hitters know that, too, and they're going to tee off on you. One line drive was caught, hit right at Ripken at shortstop, but the others were not.